Sociedad Mexicana de Inteligencia Artificial, SMIA, and we're going to have the participations of our friends, our colleagues who have been heading SMIA in the last few years. We have some rounds of questions that are going to be addressed to each of the participants. The first round, then we'll have a second round, and the third round will be directed towards anyone from the audience that want to pose questions to any of the panelists present in here. So I have the pleasure to present all of you, the panelists that we have in this occasion. First of all, I would like to thank our president, Felix Castro, for the kind invitation to participate in this panel and for the efforts he has posed in order to organize MICAI 2020 to celebrate the 20th anniversary of the launching of MICAI in year 2000. Our panelists will be as follows. First of all, I would like to ask you for a prayer in favor of Jose Negrete, first president of SMIA, who passed away not that long time ago, that his soul may rest in peace. Then we'll have Pablo Noriega, who was president from 89 to 91, Antonio Sanchez Aguilar from 91 to 93, Christian Lemaitre from 93 to 95, Ofelia Cervantes from 95 to 97, Francisco Cantú from 98 to 2000, Luis Enrique Zúcar from 2000 to 2002, Humberto Sosa from 2002 to 2004, Ángel Curi from 2006 to 2008. Álvaro de Albornoz was president from 2005 to 2006. Carlos Alberto Reyes, 2008-2010. Raúl Monroy, 2010 to 2012. Alexander Gelbuk, 2012 to 2014. Grigory Sidorov, 2014 to 2016. And Miguel González from 2016 to 2018. And our current president, Felix Castro. So we thank you very much for being with us today to share your memories and your vision of AI in Mexico. Let us start with the first round of questions. In order to do so, we are going to go chronologically. That means that we'll start with Pablo Noriega to ask him to share what was the AI situation during his administration as SMIA president. Then I will ask Christian and then Ofelia to share their thoughts on this issue. Pablo, please go ahead.
Thank you very much for the invitation and for letting me start. I'd like to paint a wider picture to start with so that it would facilitate the evolution, an analysis of the evolution of the organization. As many of you know, the SMIA was founded around 1984, but we didn't want to have a society organized. We were tired of having all these associations that would last very few years and were not going to be serving any useful purpose. So we resisted ourselves into founding it until '86. And at that time, we were the ones that were more active in that time, among which are Ofelia, Cristian, Antonio, or the ones that are present here. We decided to call it, thanks to Negrete's inspiration, a society of friends, because we didn't want it to be a stuffy organization, politically minded or too strict in their bylaws and so on. We wanted it to be a place where we would meet and discuss and learn among friends about what AI was or could be. So the whole idea was to bring together as many people who was enthusiastic about the topics of AI and have a meeting every year where that was the only purpose of the society, to have a Encuentro Nacional de Inteligencia Artificial, an hernia, which was a meeting that was a pain in the ass for everyone. But that, in fact, was something that we would cherish as something that was useful for meeting and for developing friendships and for developing a curriculum and a research program for all the people involved. The main idea was that it was a young discipline in Mexico, although we had some important contributions by Guzmán Arenas and Negrete, for instance, and other people. But it was young in the sense that most of the researchers were very young. We were dispersed in many institutions, and we were dealing with topics that were quite varied. And because of that, that gave us the possibility of coming together and having a chance to discuss openly on what we're doing and bringing very young people together. An important thing to remember, probably Paco can also elaborate on that, those were years when Mexico was suffering a substantial crisis, economic crisis and identity crisis. We didn't have much contact with the rest of the world. The situation of scholarships and funding was dire, and all other scientific societies were doing quite bad. In computer science in general, there was no cohesiveness. And AI was the society where these things, because I think there were enthusiastic people and were generous, and there was no money or any financial or lucrative interest associated with the activity, it worked well as a society of friends. Because of that, the yearly reunion was quite productive, and many people were brought together. The publication of the proceedings was quite good, and thank you, Paco. And I guess that's it. It was a time of crisis, good friends, good institutional design from the beginning.
Thank you very much, Pablo. And I will ask Christian to have his remarks, if we may.
Your phone is not on, Christian.
Okay, thank you. Well, thank you very much for the invitation. And I was telling that it's nice to be here with all these good friends, not old good friends, only good friends of the SMIA community. And I prepared some words, but I thank Pablo that he spoke first, so he made this overall context I was trying to tell. So thank you, Pablo. And I'm going to focus more in the period I was president of the SMIA, 93, but a little bit earlier, maybe. In 91, I made a report for the INEGI. The INEGI was Pablo in the INEGI, and I made a report that it would be very interesting for everybody to read it today. I think this morning I read it, and it's really interesting to see what was the panorama of research in computer science in general in that time at Mexico. It's somewhere in the AmexComp website, but if somebody wants to have the paper, I can send it to him. So it was clear in this report that the AI community in Mexico was the best organized. And the strongest groups in that time, 91, 93, 95, were basically the Tec de Monterrey groups. There were 2 or 3 groups in Tec de Monterrey, but mostly in Monterrey. And the UTLA group, it was also a strong group in that time. At the UNAM, it was several researchers also. And in 92, we created LANIA. And he was also from the very beginning an important group of research. All those groups were very small. They were not were strong. Everything was relative. LANIA, in fact, was a sort of spin-off of the SMIA, since we were all members of SMIA, and three of us were SMIA founders, Pablo, Toño, and myself. I think we made a good job in LANIA, pushing the organization of the AI in general and computer science communities, as well as making visible research, starting research in computer science and artificial intelligence in CONACYT. Tec de Monterrey deserves a special mention. Led by Francisco Cantú, the tech group grew in members and projects and in international relationships. They have a strong institution behind, so they could do that, and it was wonderful because in the public university, the situation was very, very bad. The economic crisis mentioned by Pablo continued in the 90s, in the early 90s. So it was, they were in very bad shape, the public university. And that's right what Pablo said, that the annual meeting of the SMIA was not only the venue of where we could meet all together and all the AI colleagues, but also a number of researchers of other fields of computer science. And these give us the idea to the board, I was the president, to push the creation of the Mexican Society of Computer Science. So we push this creation successfully. Another aspect of this time was that in those years, a new wave of young graduate students arrived to Mexico. And I think we should ask them. We have here some of them. I think that the existence of the SMIA give them some hope to pursue their academic career in the country. That's my feeling, but we should ask them.
Okay, Christian, thank you very much for your remarks, for your contributions. And then we'll go in a second round, and maybe we may have more comments on your behalf and your experience as SMIA president. Thank you very much, Christian. So if we go chronologically, so we started with Pablo Noriega, and then I should have gone with Toño, who was president from 91 to 93. Pablo's was from 1989 to 91. So I will go with Toño, if that is okay, and then I will ask Ofelia to give us her remarks, you may.
Well, there is very little I want to say. And first of all, I'm very pleased to see all of you there because we don't get to see each other that often. So it is great to see all of you and to see you all doing well in this lockdown that we have with the COVID thing. And my remembrances of the society are really good because I remember that this society was really a group of friends. And because of that, we were very good at organizing things, and there was not an ego trip for anybody. Nobody wanted to be important as such. That's an important aspect of an organization, when you give away your best to do the best for everyone. Now, at UTLA, I was working in AI, so why do I consider AI so important? Because I have always stated that AI is the arrowhead of computer science. The new ideas stem out from, let's try to make these machines smarter. Now, AI initially kind of relinquished the concept of machine learning, and it was not until Michalski began talking about neural networks and these ideas of connectionism that really learning took place, which is now AI has accepted and has been considered machine learning as part of AI. But for the machine learnist that I am not well invited to be part of AI as such. We think that is learning that is driving everything towards the end. Something else I want to say about AI, I remember when there was the 20th year of the celebration of the society, Pablo republished the book of Herbert Simon, The Science of the Artificial, and that was a very good book. And Herbert Simon really set up the goals towards the society as we wanted. So I think that was a great contribution by Pablo, and he was kind enough to invite us all, so we all signed in the book, but actually it was Pablo who did that. Now, talking about MICAI, I have to say that it was not until Paco organized the MICAI in Acapulco that he was committed to really go one step beyond, and that's when MICAI began working. And that really made it an international conference, published not just by a local publisher like Noriega in Mexico or Limusa in Mexico, but by Springer Verlag that is well recognized. So I think that's very important. That's all I want to say for the time being.
Thank you very much, Tony. And then we may go with Ofelia. Ofelia, please.
Yes. First of all, I would like to thank you because it's really a great opportunity to meet all of the old and very good friends. It's great to see how we have evolved. And I think it shows how really SMIA is a society of friends. In fact, it became for some, like me, like the family, because I had the opportunity to work with those friends in several projects. I participate as secretary, treasurer, vice president, and even president for SMIA. And then I had the chance to see the evolution of the society. My first contact with artificial intelligence in Mexico was thanks to Toño, because he was my professor. He just came from the United States, bringing these attractive ideas about artificial intelligence. It was so attractive for us being young. And then when I went to France, I was so surprised to discover the progress in other countries about this new field. And then I had as professor, for instance, Jean-Claude Latomba, who was trying to move from artificial intelligence from a research area to a really new area for commercial applications. Then when I came back to Mexico, I was so surprised to see how there was this group of very mature and experienced researchers working at Facultad de Ciencias and at UTLA. It was Toño, Cristian, Cristina Loyo, and Pablo, of course. And then I was so surprised to attend the first summer school that took place at UTLA. That was organized, I do remember, maybe by Warren Grave. And then I started to be in touch with all these friends, because they were really friends who were motivated to create a community and to involve young people arriving from foreign countries. Then I remember with pleasure those meetings hosted by Pablo at the IBM Center and also at INEGI, where we were all concerned about the future of Mexico. So we were really concerned about what to do with the knowledge we acquired in other countries and how to really contribute to the development of the society. But at that time, artificial intelligence was not understood in our country. I do remember several conversations related to the creation of LANIA, where the first proposal for the name was National Laboratory of Artificial Intelligence, and people didn't understand it. So finally, it became Advanced Informatics. Do you remember that? Because politicians in particular, thought that that could be something like the CIA, no? What would you be doing there? So fortunately, several institutions started to bring together young researchers, and I remember the case of Tec de Monterrey, where other good colleagues that study in France started to work. And I do remember actions at CIMAD, for instance, Facultad de Ciencias, the creation of CICESE2, and of course the creation of LANIA. I would like to mention that at that time there were several initiatives, but there were not enough resources. And maybe one of the limitations was the capacities of hardware and software. So it was interesting to see how the community that was facilitated by the organization of national meetings, the national conferences, facilitated that contact. I would like to remember too the collaboration we had with Spain and Portugal. We, at that time, organized several Iberamia, and that was also a good point of contact with foreign researchers related to AI. And finally, I would like also to remember another collaboration we opened through SMIA and with the participation of LANIA to work with National Science Foundation. And then several American researchers came to Mexico, and the new projects were launched with the support of CONACYT. Those were like the beginnings in the area. But unfortunately, several works were more related to research, and there were no real applications. I do remember there was an explosion of expert systems applied to health, applied to business, but there were not really several companies at that time. Fortunately, the evolution arrived, and now I'm sure that all other colleagues will share several experiences where now we have artificial intelligence as really part of our daily life. Maybe we'll talk more about in more participation.
Thank you very much, Ofelia. Enrique Zúcar was Vice President of SMIA.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ofelia. Enrique Zúcar was Vice President of SMIA from 1997 to 2000, and then he became President of SMIA from 2000 to 2002. So I will ask Enrique to cover this period, please, if he may.
Yes, thank you, Felix, for the organizing this, and very happy to see all the friends. They asked me to talk a bit about the challenges for starting MICAI that started at that time. I'll talk a bit about this, but I also want to talk a bit about the challenges for the future. So at that time,
we have 2 rounds.
Okay.
For doing that.
At that time, there were 2 main conferences related to AI in Mexico. They mentioned the hernia. We put it hernia when we organized it because it almost makes us an hernia. And the International Symposium of Artificial Intelligence organized by Tec de Monterrey. So the challenge we thought at that time was we need to get together to have only one meeting that has an international impact. And fortunately, Paco was at that time almost president of both. We took that opportunity to make a MICAI that was basically the union of hernia and ISAI. And I think that was very good. No? It's sometimes difficult to get people together, and we make it, and that word started MICAI. I think the other challenge was to have a recognized publisher of our memories of the of the Congress, and we got Springer Verlag to do that. And finally, also to attract international papers from other countries, and that we unfortunately we got it a bit help the publication by Springer, and also that at that time the lecture note series was considered equivalent to a journal. That helped, but also later become a bit of a problem. So I think that were the main challenges to start MICAI, and I'll leave the challenges for the future for the next round. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Enrique. I would like to mention that in 1999, we went to Stockholm, Sweden, to make a proposal to organize MICAI in Mexico in 2003. And you and I were there to present this proposal that fortunately or unfortunately was granted. So was given to Mexico, and the tigers ruffle, as we may say. So your activities and what you did as vice president and president helped a lot to have MICAI a reality in 2003.
Thank you.
Having said that, I would like to ask Humberto Sosa to share with us his remarks.
I mean, concerning the question that it was posed over there.
Yes, please.
Okay. Oh, first of all, Francisco, many thanks, Felix, for inviting me to this event. And thank you, Francisco, for sharing this panel. Of course, as the previous colleagues have said, it is a pleasure to be here and to see you all, my friends. It's really a pleasure. It's a pity that Alvaro, for example, is not here, okay? But, okay. Francisco asked us to give us some words or our opinion. What about the future, or the eventual evolution of MICAI in the next years? And first of all, I would say that MICAI should evolve from the traditional face-to-face format to a combined face-to-face virtual one. That's my first point. Why? As we have observed, for example, from our past Mexican conference on artificial intelligence, COMIA, it was a complete success, in my opinion. I don't have the numbers, okay, the figures, but several thousand of people could attend COMIA at that time. For example, as far as I know, more than 1,000 people were attending my tutorial. Okay, so this is the first time, in my opinion, it happens. Second, this pandemia, okay, has taught us many lessons. And one of them is that we can reach much more people than in a face-to-face format. Although with this pandemia, many people has passed away, we have also very good things. And in my opinion, this is one of the things. We can reach much more people. Third, if we have more papers from other countries, for example, if you remember, in past MICAIs, it was difficult to have at a conference the presenters from other countries to present their papers in a face-to-face format. I remember very clearly when I organized, for example, one of the MICAIs, it was very difficult to have people from China. And it is obvious because it is expensive to pay, the airplane and the expenses for the travel. So in my opinion, if we combine both formats, in my opinion, we will reach much more people, and we will have a much more balanced program of Mexican papers, papers from Latin America, papers from Ibero-America, and people from abroad. That's all. Thank you, Francisco.
Thank you very much, Humberto. And now we'll go with Angel. Angel, please, can you share with us your remarks?
Thank you very much. Well, first of all, I would also would like to thank all of the organizers of this meeting. I think it's a very interesting one. I'm very glad to see all of my old friends and my new friends. And I would like to speak a little bit about how I found the Mexican, the SMIA, at the time that I was invited to MICAI. At that time, I was the under director of the Centro de Investigación en Computación in the Politécnico, and it was Álvaro de Albornoz who invited me to participate. And I started as a secretary in this organization. I unfortunately was not able to form a part of this initial group of friends you've been talking about. And I found that the organization of MICAI and the way that SMIA was working was perhaps because it was such a good group of friends, it was loose in the sense of not having a very organized administrative organization. So I tried to do that. I would like to say very clearly that if it were not for some of my good friends here, Carlos Alberto, Alexander Gelbuch, and Raúl Muñoz, Raúl Monroy, who supported my ideas, I don't think I would have been able to achieve what I think has been achieved, and that is to make MICAI a serious conference and to help the SMIA. I think one of the most interesting things that I would like to point out is that SMIA is one of the few scientific conferences which is not sponsored by an organization coming from the government. Yes. SMIA has been self-sustained for many, many years, and this is thanks to the quality of the papers and the quality of MICAI. The first time I participated in MICAI, there were, if I remember well, there were 80 submissions. By the time that I left SMIA, there were more than 400 submissions to MICAI. And I think that it was because we offered something very interesting for the people, not only in Mexico, but in other countries of the world. Also, I would like to say, I remember that when I started working at SMIA, there was a sort of agreement between the Mexican Society for La Sociedad Mexicana de Ciencias de la Computación, and MICAI was being held 1 year, or what the Congress that they held was 1 year, and MICAI was on the other year, and they decided that they were going to make their Congress yearly, so we take the decision to also make our Congress yearly. And what happened, to my surprise, is that there was a lot of enthusiasm from the community in such a way that MICAI grew very much, and unfortunately the Congress that the Sociedad Mexicana de Ciencias de la Computación held started to shrink a little bit. I don't know really why, but I was very happy that we were able to do that. Another thing that we had to come by is there were some people who were saying that we were being biased towards the foreigners, because there were so many different papers which were published by the foreigners, and they didn't know, of course, that the process of arbitration was double blind, so they didn't know that we didn't even know who the authors were. But one of the ideas that was at that time put forward, and I want to thank Alexander Gelbo for doing that, he said, why don't we publish in different publications so that we are able to include a larger number of the researchers in this? So we started to publish not only in Springer, but also on IEEE and a journal by the Instituto Politécnico Nacional that also helped to make it a more popular event. Also, we had an association with Iberamia, which was another international organization, which I think to this day still goes on. But we made we signed an agreement with them, and we were able to work together for some time. Then the other groups which came after me, they were able to enhance these ideas, and I'm very grateful for them. And I want to explicitly say that I thank them very much. Okay, that's it for the moment.
Thank you very much, Angel, for your remarks. And then I will ask Carlos Alberto to share his thoughts with us, please.
Okay, thank you very much. And I'm glad to be here among all this select group of friends. And also, I'd like to thank Felix and all the organizers of this panel, and which I found very, very illustrative for all the memories that you are giving. So, I'd like to continue what Angel said. Really, I was not part of this select group of friends at the beginning. I started to join meetings of SMIA in a very, very humble way, because we had to pay even for our coffees, the transportation and everything. So if you wanted to join the meeting, I was invited first as a coordinator for tutorials for the next MICAI that it was to be held in, I think in Merida, and that is my beginnings in the society. And then it came this slump during this period of, I don't know what happened, but when I started the meetings of SMIA, no one of the first founders were present. Probably the only one, the link was Raul Monroy, but no one else of you. And well, I didn't know what was happening, but I wanted to work the best way I could. And then Angel came with some of the ideas on what could we do. And I think everything was again on the good road, as he said. And even further, one of the things that we could do while we were still together, I was the vice president, and with the help of Gelbook, we started also Computer Sapiens, which now is becoming a very important publication, and is still being published every month or every 2 months, but it's becoming better and better. And then next, we were able to keep the publication in book of the proceedings, and to have the books during the conference, which later it could not be done. But at that time we could give the books, and everybody was happy. And I think the MICAI, even when, if you remember, the proceedings were take off of the rankings of journals, so it was more difficult to get people to publish with in the proceedings, because they were not valid for many evaluations. But still, the interest was kept. The society started to grow up, because I think many newcomers like me were arriving and integrating around the society, and many of them very new groups and working in different parts of the country. And I think the critical mass started to boil during that time, which now we are looking to the results, which every time the new conferences and new seminars attract a larger group of researchers and new scientists, which I think it was the product of these earlier efforts of all of the founders of the SMIA. That's what I say.
Thank you very much, Carlos Alberto. And then I will ask Raul Monroy to share with us his thoughts. We may, Raul.
Thank you very much, Francisco, for the introduction, and thanks also to Felix Castro and all the MICAI 2020 organizers for the invitation of me to this panel and for making it happen in the first place. So I would like to say a few words how I made my way into SMIA and MICAI eventually. I participated in the first MICAI 20 years ago. I presented a paper over there in Acapulco. And I remember that in the program, in the general program of the conference, there was this particular obscure meeting, a general meeting of the Mexican Society for Artificial Intelligence. And it just attracted my attention and my interest. And I showed up because nobody said it was forbidden or not open to the public or to the general audience. So and there were just a few people over there, really quite a few, not too many. And maybe because of that, I just took the courage to raise my hand and, at the end of the meeting and say if they wanted to have some pair of hands to do some kind of dirty work or whatever they wanted to give me. And they say, well, why not? And for just some sudden reason I can't remember of, next time I realized I was becoming the secretary treasurer to the Mexican Society for Artificial Intelligence. And then it just went through to 2010 when I became president of the society. By then, MICAI had already had one of the golden ages, as Carlos Alberto has already said, because the serious lecture notes in computer science were just taken away from JCR, but the geographical AI situation or the geographical situation of the AI community was pretty much now stable, if I remember correctly, in the country. And this is because we had the contributions in MICAI from several places from Mexico, Monterrey, Veracruz, Tamaulipas, and so on and so forth. And even though the community was still small, by that time, the CONACYT network on ICT could accumulate about 500 researchers. And if you think about it, AI is part of the AI, was taken to be part of ICT at that time. And of course, if there were 500 members in that network, then we in the AI community were less than 300 or possibly a little bit more. But the most of the AI community was in a way brought together by the Mexican Society of Artificial Intelligence through MICAI. Maybe we at that time missed some people from the north, especially from the Tecnológico Tijuana, but a few years later, then we started to have the participation from those guys. So I think the time I was president for the society were very wonderful times. I think the community in Mexico got stronger, but it is for sure that we didn't have more participation from, well, not as much, not as large as participation from other countries, especially Asian countries in the MICAI. But I will have to say something about that later on in the second round. So for me, it is enough, Francisco.
Thank you very much, Raul. And I will, Alexander. Yes, I would like to ask Alexander to share his thoughts with us. Alexander, please go ahead.
Thank you. Well, the question is, what happened during the term I was the president? Fortunately, nothing. Things were stable. Things were well established by the previous presidents and previous teams. Actually, I can't remember specifically anything during my term as a president, which is a good news. It's good when things are stable and work. If you allow me, I would use my time slice to recall a wider context. I was involved in MICAI for very actively for 10 years, and in total for 15 years, thanks to Angel Curie, who invited me to chair the, it was third edition of MICAI. So in those 10 years when I was involved in MICAI, there were deep changes. We had excellent keynotes starting from John McCarthy, the first time when I chaired MICAI. We changed to yearly publication, not only because our colleagues from the other society did it, but just because we could, just because we had enough papers. We changed to 2 volumes. We changed to different levels. It's very important for a conference to have different levels of publication. The top level for best papers, it was with Springer, and some more levels, so that at the last level, nearly every student can participate, can publish. Very important change and quite unique. Other conferences don't have so deep system of levels. We started to have short presentations for posters, 1-minute presentation. I think it's very important to present the posters in this way. So in general, the first half of that decade when I was involved was very, very successful. MICAI became truly international. From 80-something submissions, we transitioned to 500 nearly submissions. Springer called MICAI the premier event in artificial intelligence in Latin America. But at some moment, a disaster happened. You all know when in that time Thomson changed the classification of the conference. It was a disaster for computer science in general and for artificial intelligence, because suddenly all our publications were worth nothing for the government. Since that, it was very difficult to maintain MICAI. We had to rely on our own quality, on the quality of papers without any support, indirect support, I mean, from the government in the form of encouraging publishing in the conference. As Pablo said, well, it's a society of friends, so we don't want anything political. I would say no, we have to be political, we have to promote things. Of course, times are different now. So in my term and wider context, we had to be political, we had to provide a venue for publication for our researchers, our students. Conferences is a very important venue of publication. I think in general, the way we researchers communicate to each other and interact with the government, now this way is a very deep crisis. The whole publication model is a very deep crisis. Journals are in a very deep crisis. Conferences are part of this process, of this change. I really don't know where this change can can bring us. What I see very clearly that that it's horrible what's happening with our publication model. Now, why conferences is so important in this context? First, because conferences provide a very good publication model. In contrast to journals, conferences have clear funding model. Journals, as we know them, they are doomed to fall in one of two categories. Commercial journals, which charge huge money for doing nothing, I would say, and it's not how we can publish. It's huge load, financial load on our community. Or another funding model of journals is just free journals. We at our school in the Instituto Politécnico Nacional, we have a couple of such journals. Grigori probably will speak about it. He's editor-in-chief of such a journal, free journals. We cannot survive as free journals because of the pressure from commercial journals, financial pressure, governmental pressure. Free journals cannot survive as we have them. So the alternative, the only alternative that I see is conferences, because of clear financial model in between, not just to make rich a few people and not completely free, because nobody can work for free.
Alex, may we have a closing remarks from you, if we may, please?
Okay.
The closing remarks.
Closing remarks. Okay. So I think MICAI has been a venue that paves the way to a much better interaction with the government and interaction between ourselves, to a new publication model. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alexander. And then I will ask Grigory if we can have his remarks, please. Please, Grigory.
Yes, thank you very much. First of all, I would like to thank Felix and the current executive board for inviting all of us. So this is a good chance to see all of us again. I would also ask to thank Alexander Gelbuch and Angel Curi for inviting me many years ago to be part of the Mexican Society of Artificial Intelligence. So it was a great idea. Well, now continuing the topic that Alexander mentioned, well, first of all, I would like to repeat the famous phrase that the rumors about my death are slightly exaggerated. So the free journals still are surviving. So I hope they will. Certainly, it is very difficult to make a competition for commercial journals because, yes, we have to rely on the financing of our institutions. And yes, we're not so efficient. Yes, it is much more difficult. And by the way, it is very important community effort regarding the reviewing process, because the reviewers, they don't have any retribution for the moment. So I hope all of you will continue cooperating with my journal and with all other journals. It is a very important part of our scientific activity. Though all of us are busy at every moment, and sometimes we don't answer the invitations, I understand it. Okay, so I was asked to speak about the challenges that we met when we organized the MICAI conference at those times, and I suppose that
They are pretty much similar to the current challenges. So, well, the main challenge is to convince the community that they should participate in the conference. And as Alexander mentioned, and Enrique also mentioned, the problem is that the conference publication in computer science, though it is very important, the government doesn't take it into account. I know that now Enrique is making an effort to consider the conferences in computer science at least. So it is a very important part of our production. So still, I would like to stress that the community is answering in a very good way to our effort in organizing the committee. So more specifically, what shall we do when organizing MICAI? Well, we shall choose the venue, so it should be attractive. Well, it can be some very small city, unfortunately, usually. Then the other thing we should do is to distribute call for papers. We distribute it in Mexico, yes, very true. And we also should distribute it internationally because though MICAI is major Mexican event in artificial intelligence, we still want to the participation of the foreign researchers. Well, then the other important part is to choose the keynote speakers. We had very famous keynote speakers at all MICAI conferences. It is, well, something very good. It is not so easy because the important people, they have very tight schedules, so probably we should do it in advance. Sometimes they cannot travel. Well, probably now it would be much more easy because, well, everyone can find spare hour and give a keynote address at our conference. In fact, when MICAI was the presential before the pandemic, we still had some presentations, for example, by Vladimir Vapnik or by Ruslan Salahudinov by virtual video conference. Yes. Okay. Well, then just get the papers and organize the reviewing process. And finally, they prepare the publications. And still, as we said, that we don't count the journals, we don't count the conferences, we still usually try to propose to the participants to publish their works in special issues of several indexed journals. So usually we try to do it, and usually we succeed with this. Okay, so I think it would be all from my part. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Grigory, for your remarks. And then I will ask Miguel to share with us his thoughts and also about the main evolution of MICAI during the last few years. Please, Miguel.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. I would like to thank you, Francisco, for the invitation, Felix, as well as the actual board. Okay. And I joined the board since 2008, at the end of Angel Curi's presidence, at the beginning of the Carlos Reyes. Thanks for the invitation, also from Raul Monroy, who invited me to as vocal with some activities at the time. But also I participated in my first MICAI was in Monterrey in 2005. And I think it was one of the quite nice experience because it was quite well organized, and the quality of the keynotes were amazing, I will say. And I think that this effort must continue because, as Angel said and Alexander said, the continuity of the the operations of MICAI, but also on the board of SMIA, need a lot of energy and a lot of organization and, of course, discipline. And to maintain these activities, of course, we need people, the engagement of people, and we need more friends, if you want. And I consider all of these people my friends, and it is still a AI friends society. I think it is still the case. For MICAI particularly, what is important is that even if we have an academic and research mainly focused activity on MICAI, government and industry is also approaching our activities since 2016. And particularly, for example, when I became vice president, I started to invite also some people as from industry, of course, to join the expo, a little expo, of course, and also some keynotes. For example, Jeff Dean in 2017 when he was at CICESE in Ensenada. Jeff Dean is the Google's AI lead, for example, one of the authors of TensorFlow. And of course, in 2018, it had some keynote speakers in industry as David Atkinson at Continental, leading, of course, all the AI activities, quite nice keynotes, and also Jeff Jung from Uber. And not only that, but also some activities with the government, having, of course, the seminal activities concerning the AI strategy at the end of 2018, just at the end of the past governments, federal government here in Mexico. And now we continue all these activities as a society. I think the society, but also as one of the main floors, as it is represented by MICAI, must continue with these activities. Of course, we have to ensure all these challenges we are facing concerning the quality, the proceedings, publications, the reviewing, but I think we will take all these topics on the next step. Thank you. That's it for me. Thank you, Francisco.
Yes, Miguel, thank you very much, everyone, for your contributions. So we are just in time, so I appreciate your efforts to keep the time allowed for each intervention. And then we'll proceed to the second round. For the second round, there is a general questions, and there are 3 interventions that may be done just by lifting your hands, and then I will give you the word to make your comments. And the questions in general, the question is as follows: what is the AI balance during the past 20 years, and the role of MICAI on this first part of AI in Mexico? And then the second part will be about the future of AI in Mexico, especially for the following 5 or 10 years towards 2030. And I will ask Angel to share his thoughts with us, please.
I'd like to address the second question that you posed first regarding the future of artificial intelligence in Mexico.
Yes, please.
In my opinion, I think that one of the things that I think should be incorporated in the efforts of the people who are cultivating this discipline is to make it more professional, in the sense of having final products which are useful by the society. Of course, that all the efforts in research somewhere in the chain of events have to impound on society. But I think it's more important, or it would be more important for a country like Mexico to shorten the time between the state of the art and state of the technology. One of the things that I think is missing in Mexico, in most of the fields, is the will to do what it takes to do in order for these ideas to become practical things. Sometimes we are enslaved, I would think, by an attitude which says that we have to appeal to external factors in order to be able to do all of these things become a reality. I do not agree with that. I think that I can say that I have in a way, I have a different vision from all of you, because in one part of my professional activity, I had companies which I founded and I had to have them running. And I know it's a different thing to make a company run than it is to expose the ideas, no matter how brilliant they are. But you have to do what it has to be done in order for these ideas to become a reality and become a useful reality. So the reason why I wanted to expose these things is to emphasize the fact that I think that there are a lot of brilliant people in Mexico, and I think that these people are working in artificial intelligence, and there's something that we can do, we must do, in order for all these brilliant people and their brilliant ideas to become things which are useful for our society. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Angel. So we'll have 15 minutes for your interventions, and there will be 1 or 2 minutes interventions. And then I will ask Enrique Zucar to share his thoughts with us, please. Enrique.
Thank you. I want to talk a bit more about the future of MICAI than the AI in general.
Okay.
And I think to progress, we have to be self-critic. And I think during the past, we have a boom in MICAI that was a bit artificial because of the Springer notes being part of the index of ACR. And when that stopped, we went down. We have to be realistic that in general, the number of submissions and their quality has been going down in MICAI. So I think we are coming to a time that we have to think of a change as it happened in 2000 between the ERNIA and MICAI. So I see basically 2 alternatives. One is to make MICAI a really high quality conference to compete with AAAI, ISCAI, and those kind of conferences. We are currently on a boom in artificial intelligence, and there are thousands of submissions to that conference. So that, I know it's very difficult, but that could be, I think, one way to go ahead. Maybe imply less papers in the next few years, but eventually, if we show that we have a very high quality conference, we'll start to get many papers. The other option is to return a bit to the style of ERNIA, to be more like a meeting between the people mainly in Mexico working in AI. I think we have lost a bit that. Many researchers don't come anymore to MICAI. And maybe we can don't give so importance to the publication and make a meeting. We attract most of the researchers and students in artificial intelligence in Mexico, maybe with many invited talks, tutorials, etc. That would be another way. I think it's something for the now the current SMIA board to think about it and decide. But I think we have to do something. We have to change. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Raul. I'm sorry, Skip, you didn't see your hands. So please, Raul, go with your comments, please.
Your phone is off. Raul.
Yeah, Raul, your phone is
sorry
off.
about that. Yeah, thank you very much. Sorry about that. I would like to say a few words on the evolution of possible evolution of MICAI. But first of all, I would like to say that to me, MICAI is the premium forum for the dissemination of AI research in Mexico by, of course, the AI community in Mexico. Having said that, it is, of course, very tempting to try to do the conference, try to make the conference, very, really international. But I think that would be the wrong way to go. If you look into other countries, for example, such as Brazil, which runs the Brazilian Conference on Intelligent Systems, BRICS, Spain, which runs the conference of the Spanish Society for Artificial Intelligence, and even Kai from the Germany, the German Conference in Artificial Intelligence. They are all very successful in the sense that they are really a gateway to bring together the AI community of their countries. So thinking to make AI, MICAI, for example, making it to be a conference of type A, that would be, I don't think we should even strive towards, say, competing against AAAI or HCAI. So that's not going to happen. So they are top A conference, and they are the premium forum for the international community at large. For us, we should be striving towards really bringing together all the Mexican AI players in terms of research and publishing the finest pieces of research that Mexico yields, and being a gateway in that to put forward to the international community at large the finest piece of work and the very good pieces of work that we do in Mexico. But we should strive also towards having all the AI people in Mexico coming together to MICAI and run workshops in order to really strengthen the community and try to move forward, put forward research in small groups or in small workshops, so as to make these projects bigger, larger, and have, of course, access to premium conferences such as HCAI or whatever journal could be. So in my opinion, we should strive towards strengthening the community.
Thank you very much, Raul. We'll have some other interventions. There are also some questions from the audience on the chat, but let's proceed with Christian. Christian, please, may we have your comments, please?
Thank you. Very short. I'm going to go another way, completely different. For the future of AI in general, and in Mexico particularly, I'm very worried about the principal trends of our artificial intelligence research and applications. I think we should discuss as Mexican community, as other national communities are discussing, about the responsibility of AI applications and how to do responsible AI on research and on applications. The part of the ethics we should put in ourselves and in our students. We must be conscious of the ethics applications and not follow completely blindless the main trends of artificial intelligence of the big companies. We are doing the artificial intelligence of the big cloud. And in countries like Mexico, we should think about what kind of artificial intelligence we should work on, develop, not following the main trends. Well, these kind of research, okay, they give us papers in conference and publications, but I think we should discuss about these topics. And this is the kind of discussion we cannot have in the kind of MICAI conference style. Where are we going to discuss these kind of things? We have the 2030 agenda of the GS Global Sustainable Goals as the main focus, the main goal of the humanity in the next 10 years. We should say something about that ourselves. We have something to do with that. I don't think that artificial intelligence alone is going to solve all the big problems, but we need to address these problems with other communities and work together in a different way as we are doing right now. Thank you.
Okay, Christian, very much. We have an intervention from Pablo. Pablo, please go ahead.
I'll try to be concrete. I think Raul's and Enrique's intervention focus the problem on focus the issue of how MICAI should evolve. And I think that is a very difficult question to address, and that should be addressed. But it should be addressed within a context of what was behind MICAI. I think what is worth considering at this moment is what is the role of the society of AI in Mexico. I agree with Christian. The issues are very important, they are complex, and one has to design how to address those issues. So the conference for SMIA was important because that was the way to bring together everyone to express what people were concerned about and what the production was. And that is still a need for a group of people. But we should not ignore that a society of researchers and engineers and business people around AI should also consider other things. And redesigning the conference is an important task that should be accomplished, but that should not prevent the society of Mexican AI society to solve or address other issues that are important, networking among the people, education, and something that is now becoming more and more important, the public voice of AI. That is a role that the society should take, and to a certain extent, the conferences facilitated the emergence of these concepts that could be backed by or supported or endorsed by many people. At this point in time, the national strategies of AI, the international strategies of AI are being designed. There's a need for having in government and in international organizations an individual or an institution to talk to, and a scientific society that is like SMIA should address that possibility or should assume that responsibility. I guess AI is very significant at the moment, and it will be still very significant in the next 20 or 30 years. What a Mexican society can do can be very significant as well, and I guess the perspective should be kept open and differentiate the venues in which the effort should go. And redesigning MICAI is one of the tasks that should be accomplished soon.
Thank you very much, Pablo. So we're about to start the third round of questions from the audience, and let us do that. And I have a question here from Felipe Arias that says, what are your plans to increase the exposure of AI to students and private employers in the area that can benefit of the academic work? And he says, I am 50 years old and I just found SMIA and MICAI a few years ago. I really want to see the academia researchers more close to the people that wants to learn about AI. I see a big opportunity for our young people to grow and take up Mexico here in the country instead of migrating to other countries. So, any comments on this question? These questions posed by Felipe Arias, interventions. So basically has to do with SMIA and MICAI, how to be close to students and how to be close to employers from the companies.
I have.
Yeah. Go ahead, Carlos.
Okay. Well,
Carlos,
there was
yes, please,
another related questions on if MICAI is the best way to publish for students, but if you think in the two questions, there is the alternative for students to publish in COMIA, which was designed precisely for works on progress and for including students to start publishing in a conference, which is also very good. COMIA is the alternative in Spanish for young researchers, and I think it is very good if they go and start publishing there, and then they can also publish in MICAI later. And for the exposure, I think from SMIA, there have been a lot of new groups growing up around, and there are another kind of seminars and conferences where there are more academic issues being exposed, like the one that we already had, the SNIC, Seminario Nacional de Aprendizaje e Inteligencia Computacional, which is this by invitation of academics and not by call for papers. So there are some other workshops and new seminars going on and around the community forum by this center, that this is SMIA. So I think that there are some other alternatives for being in contact directly with the academics and the students.
Thank you, Carlos. So there is another comment from Gustavo Arroyo.
Yeah.
There is a great opportunity for real artificial intelligence applications in the electrical sector. So we need to work in a coordinated manner between the academy and the research centers of the sectors. Any reactions on this comment?
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to say anything about that, but I was going to say something in relation with Felipe's question. Yeah, I think the current executive board of SMIA should also try to link and liaise with other initiatives such as RIA, the International Meeting on Artificial Intelligence. And because we are now witnessing not pretty much like an explosion of several AI meetings, but it would be good to try to join together all these initiatives. And also, we as SMIA and MICAI, we have never gone, or really very highly, we have tried to go into companies to get funding for MICAI. And we should try to do that more so that you have more exposure to everyone. That was my intervention
Raúl?
in relation with
Francisco, may I go?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, please.
Yes. I agree with what was said by sorry.
Carlos Alberto.
By Raúl.
Raúl.
No, not exactly. Where the opinion of sorry, I forgot. I don't know what is happening with me. But with Angel,
Christian,
with Angel's opinion,
Pablo Christian.
But and also concerning the question of our colleague, one lesson that I have learned with this pandemic is is that, for example, we can transform the knowledge we have acquired during years into products, real products. So I agree completely with Angel proposal, and I think, for example, now we are of course, we do not forget theory about artificial intelligence, but as far as I can see, now we have a great opportunity to transform this knowledge into solutions to real problems. For example, now we can build robots to do something in real life. We can develop systems to monitor for example, the temperature of people in automatic way. I mean, plenty of solutions. We have plenty of opportunities. We have in health, we have in energy, we have in many areas. And now I think it's a good opportunity to show to the government, to show to the community that our knowledge can be usable to transform. But why? Because we need these real solutions. I do not forget the theory, but now is the opportunity to show. Thank you.
Okay, Humberto, thank you very much. There is a comment here. I'm going to read it from Iran Ponce. He makes a remark. He says, Dave Gahan commented on Facebook. From my point of view, it is necessary to convince the private sector for the benefits in research in AI. Collaborative projects could be an option, and project challenges in academic institutions would trigger attention even from government. Miguel, any comments on this?
Yes, just very brief. Here we have as sponsors, this MICAI, for example, we have ADOX Human Developments, NDS, and NVIDIA, for example. NVIDIA is one of the biggest. These companies have a lot of projects, and tomorrow we will have a session with these guys, just of course talking about their products, but also about the opportunities to collaborate, mainly, for example, on video analytics, video processing, natural language processing, of course, and some other challenges we have. For example, on the question with Gustavo Arroyo, particularly with the electrical sector, there are a lot of opportunities in order to use AI. There are several verticals in order to introduce, for example, all these new developments. And just like Angel Curi said, we have to strengthen all the links or liaisons with not only with the leaders of artificial intelligence in Mexico, but also strengthen these communities in order to reinforce the technological transfer. And it could be also with several other initiatives. For example, the National Research Center, as Luis Enrique Zucker is leading, just the initiative, but just to mention some of the efforts, the Red ICA as well, and some other national research networks. Thank you. That's it. Maybe Angel.
Thank you, Miguel. Stoila Espinosa says, I am not a scientist, but I can be in contact with Dr. Felix Castro to talk about collaboration for students and researchers and to help to strengthen the international collaboration for SMIA. Any comments on this, Felix?
Yes, of course, Paco. Before to attend the question, I would like to thank to all the past Mexican Society for Artificial Intelligence to attend this interesting panel. I have shared my email with Zoila in order to be in contact. Thank you, Paco.
Okay, thank you very much, Felix. And I think we are ending the time allowed for this panel. So we are all 2 o'clock. So I will like to take this opportunity to thank you all for your contributions, to the panelists, and also to the audience that participated with their questions. So we have them here, and they will be addressed by some of the panelists. And to finalize, I would like to ask Felix Castro to close this panel and say to us the final remarks. Please, Felix.
Thank you very much, Paco. Again, it's a very honor for me, and on behalf of the Mexican Society for Artificial Intelligence Board, I want to thank to all of you, not only the panelists, but all the participants. There are too many questions. However, for problems, time constriction is very complicated to attend all. However, I will send by email the question to our panelists and ask the panelists to answer by email the question to all the participants. Thank you very much, and thank you to all the audience. Antonio, we want to say something? No. Okay. Before to finish, I want to take a picture. Please activate the video. Iram, Oscar, Felipe, if you can, of course. Iram and Oscar, of course you can. Okay. I proceed to take some pictures.
Raul is not in. Raul Monroy.
Oscar Herrera is not there.
Yes.
Okay.
Se va a peinar.
Ah, okay. Se fue a vestir.
Okay.
Raul, we don't see you, Raul.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hey, thank you. Thank you to all of you. Iram, we are already in the Facebook or not?
No more questions from Facebook.
Ahorita estamos en la elaboración de los nuevos reglamentos del SNI, internos. Entonces, les comunico que estamos luchando una vez más porque los congresos sean incluidos. A ver si ganamos algo.
Muy bien.
Saludos a todos.
Noticias.
Lourdes,
Saludos a todos.
Iram, Oscar, bye.
Saludos.
Gracias, gusto saludarlos.
Nos vemos, un abrazo a todos.
Pablo, Carlos, Ángel.
Gracias, Félix.
Cristian.
Gracias.
Como
Gracias.
diría el señor
Todos.
Spock,
Gracias.
larga vida y prosperidad.
Exacto. Antes de que se vayan, efectivamente el tiempo es muy corto.
Antonio.
Vamos a hacer lo posible aprovechando estas facilidades tecnológicas que tenemos para invitarlos a todos los expresidentes de nuevo para hacer una lluvia de ideas con el objetivo de mejorar no solo MICAI, sino SMI en sí mismo, ¿no? ¿Vale?
Por supuesto.
Me comprometo a invitarlos y espero que se comprometan a ponernos de acuerdo para hablar en un siguiente momento. ¿Sale?
Sí.
Claro que sí.
Saludos a todos.
De acuerdo.
Saludos.
Gracias.
Gracias.
Adiós a todos.